So number one is kind of the opening and the verification, right? So y- normally that's 2 to 3 questions, and I think your opening should be basically was the agent ready for the call, right? The customer's not saying hello, hi, hello, right? We're not doing that. Was their tone where you need it to be? It's not like, thank you for calling XYZ. How can I help you? My name's Tom, right? Obviously, we want their tone to be just, I'm not saying we got to be, you know, gung ho every single call, but it's got to be like, this customer does sound important to us. I think that those are really important, right? So your tone right at the beginning, making sure that they're ready for the call, and then any type of verification that you need for that customer, right? Whether that is you have to verify their name, a member ID, a date of birth, those kind of things. If you have to read back, if you want the information read back to the customer, all of that stuff will kind of play into 2 or 3 questions. I think is really all you need there to really kind of get through verifying the customer and then making sure that we're starting the call off on a proper tone. I think that's a really important thing to score. And then the next thing that I think we'd look at is kind of having an etiquette, a phone etiquette kind of section. And with these, I kind of have 5 main questions that we like to ask that I think cover the vast majority of, what a customer kind of would want, and kind of just the behavior of the agent. So number one is, did they show any type of empathy, right? Is it just a blanket, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that," right? Or do they actually take the time to like listen to the customer and legitimately show empathy? Again, I know this is not an AI episode, but I think that's one of the main misconceptions, and one of the things that we've had to work on the most. Human beings are really good when they show genuine empathy. They're good at connecting with another human. And secondly, the scoring from a QA standpoint, it stands right out, right? Because the QA person can really tell that empathy. I struggle, right? On a lot of your QA forms, we're scoring what the agent said, not how they said it. And I think that's a huge drawback because it's just been kind of lazy for everybody and it's easy. So again, we will score, and we see this scored with when we're calibrating calls and we're listening to how humans have scored this. If an agent does say, and I know you guys have heard me say this, but I'm really sorry to hear that, right? Gives that fake empathy. They're just checking the box. And normally on a lot of QA forms, that's fine. I think you should go deeper than that. Again, you guys have heard me talk about it on our auto platform. That's one of my favorite prompts, right? Because we're not looking for keywords like analytics. We are looking for anywhere in the transcript where the customer had a pain point. Right? They had some type of stress level that went up. They had an issue with a product. And did the agent actually say something that either raised the sentiment of the interaction, made the customer laugh, made the outcome of that small 10-second interaction after the agent talked, did it make the call a little bit better? And humans can pick that up, but I think it's really difficult to do over time. But that's something that AI, if you prompt for it, it can do a really good job with that too. So empathy, and I think true empathy are really important. Call control is another question that I would always ask that I think is very important. The best contact center agents are taking you down a journey, right? Where the customer always has the opportunity to kind of go right or left, right? But that agent knows where that customer needs to be at the end and can control that. And I think that that's a really important piece. So are they showing really good call control without kind of being demanding of and being assertive? But the really good customer service agents can do that. The third is just kind of the blanket, did they use proper verbiage, tone, professionalism? And this is different for everybody because I think this is a culture question, right? So if you're at a bank, you have to be prim and proper, right? Yes, sir. No, sir. Those kind of words. But if you're working for maybe a skateboard shop, it's, what's up, man? Like, oh, dude, listen, right? Like, did the agent match the culture of not only the agent but your brand as well? I think that's really important. The fourth question is, did they actively listen? I think that this is really important for contact center agents, and it can be really hard, especially when you're taking call after call after call after call. And maybe it's the same exact issue that you've heard like 13 times in a row. But that customer doesn't know that. So, that's a really important question, I think, to ask. Are they actively listening? Are they kind of not talking over the customer because they're kind of getting bored? Are they just jumping to conclusions, right? Did the customer say something earlier and the agent just totally forgot about it, right? And that's so annoying to a customer. So I think that that's a really important question. And then the last thing with etiquette is right, did they follow the proper hold procedures? Did they follow your kind of dead air policies? I have seen, for the most part, on hold procedures that it's between 1 minute and 2 minutes, right? With halfway through coming back to the customer and kind of giving them a, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just going to be a couple more minutes. Is that okay? That kind of thing. So it's asking for proper hold if they can put the customer on hold, which I think is still the right thing to do. Making sure that we're not having 5 to 10 minutes, and if we do, that we've talked to the customer a couple times. That's going to ruin the call anyway. But I mean, again, trying to hold it to that minute to 2 minutes and fit 30 seconds through, a minute through, making sure that we're getting back to the customer. And then also just that there's not a lot of dead air. Maybe that's its own question too. Sometimes, a lot of times we see them just kind of jammed together, right? But if the agent is working on a screen and there's like that 30 seconds of all you hear is maybe typing, or right. And again, that can be difficult. Really good customer service agents are good at it. The really bad ones make it seem fake. Like, how's your day today, sir? Like, right. But still, I think that's still better than having total dead air. All right. So we kind of have an opening. We kind of have that etiquette, which is the core of kind of, I think, everybody's QA form. And then kind of the third section is like, what is proprietary to you? Right? Are these sales calls? Are these retention calls? Are these tech support calls where we got to find maybe a root cause or some type of troubleshooting, or maybe it's an insurance call where we have to follow certain SOPs and make sure that we're giving proper information out, right? So again, for sales calls, and this will be a little bit more general because there's so much you could do here, but I think for the core questions, right, looking for, I'm a huge on the sales aspect. There's two things for me that I think are vitally important. Number one is that we ask proper kind of open-ended probing questions, right? To kind of get to the heart of maybe what this customer wants, right? We're not asking yes or no's. I think that's important. And then, some people love this, some people hate this, but I think for most cross-sell, upsell, customers calling in to sign up for a subscription, having that assumptive language, I think it's proven. I mean, I've seen it in every single program we've ever done. The agents who are using assumptive language in their sales process, right, they have a much higher conversion percentage. So, it's like a customer saying, yeah, so how much is this again? And, well, ma'am, this is it's $14.95 a month. If you'd like to, sign up for a family plan, it's only $56 for the year. So, let's get you signed up here. Do you have any kids, or would you like the family plan? Or, you know what? I did hear that you said that earlier, that you do live alone. So let's sign you up for this $14.95 plan. I have your name as, and you kind of go into it. Right. So, and again, we can argue about that. I think that that's kind of a good thing, from a sales aspect. And the third kind of on that sales is kind of, did they rebuttal, right? Using benefits, right? We don't want to ever, and again, this goes into more salesy stuff, but if there's like a 30-day free trial, right? You don't want to rebuttal off of that, right? Rebuttaling off of low commitment, right, normally leads to higher drop-offs, as we go, a couple months in. So the customer is going to come back and be like, dude, like, that's great, you got these sales, but they were on our books for 2 months. So I think, rebuttaling with the benefits, making sure that we're talking positive about the product. And then if there's any retention, right, for a cancel call, right, I think, that kind of plays into that as well. Did they actually try to retain the customer? Did they try to sell it off benefits, blah, blah, blah. So all those things that from a sales aspect that are important to you, I think can go in there. If this is more of a tech support, were you able to show understanding of the issue? Were you able to verbalize the problem? were you able to give a quick summary back to the customer so that they can say, because a lot of times, and I've learned this in tech support, the customer doesn't really understand what's happening and doesn't have maybe the lingo to read to understand it. So it's up to the customer service agent then to kind of speak through what those issues could be, and then get a kind of a verbalization. I think that's a word, to the customer that yes, this is what's going on. And then, did they give relevant troubleshoot, like all those kind of things from a troubleshooting? And then again, for maybe if you're an insurance company and you have certain, SOPs, right? Are you giving the proper information? Right. I think that's a really important, obviously really important question for anything, but you're looking more at those types of things. Did you transfer when you were supposed to? Did you give the proper information for this situation? Those are kind of the proprietary things to your business that I think need to be part of kind of that third section. And then the fourth is the closing, right? And there can be a couple things in the closing. Number one, a lot of times we see customers they want to make sure that the agent did not transfer inappropriately to another department. So we may have that in the closing. I think offering additional assistance is just a cool, nice thing to do at the end. Is there anything else that I can help you with, instead of just ending the call? I think that, again, for those of you who don't like longer handle times, you might not like that, but I think, overall that's the best way to kind of end the call. And then, having a proper closing, whatever that is for you guys, if it's a branded closing or if it's just, hey, thank you, I, like to speak to you again, whatever that is. I think that's important. Your openings and your closings are really important from a branding standpoint to make sure that it's almost like you're going to get the same kind of experience every time. And I think those are pretty important things to make sure that you're scripted to a certain extent with your agents. And then here's the last thing, right? So normally that's kind of where we would end, right? I think that having an analytics section, a small section of maybe 3 or 4 questions, right? Did the customer cancel? Was it too expensive? If you have a retention line, if there is, maybe a marketing wants to get in, like, did they say anything about the product design? Did they say anything about an advertisement we had on Facebook, like whatever? Like asking all these things that we normally ask agents through a disposition, or we just go talk to them about in a focus group. Start to ask those questions, right? The analytics is really good at it. Auto QA is amazing at it. Your human being, people can do that as well when they hear things, right? To just yes or no some certain things that you can start to really correlate questions. I get the question a lot on weighting questions and weighting sections, and I kind of go back and forth on it. I think overall you are fine if you are on a 5-point scale. I don't think you have to make it complicated, right? Everybody wants to make it more complicated than I think it is. 1 out of 1, a 0 or 5. It's a yes or no. It's a binary question, and you can really benchmark, I think, a lot better that way. When you start to weigh sections and you weigh questions as more important, and again, there's some really good use cases for that, especially I think in financial services from disclosures and those kind of things. I think that's important, but I think you can get confused, when you see different scores based on different sections of weighting. So again, I'm just a big 0 out of 5, whole way through kind of thing. I think that, that gives you kind of the easiest way. Now, I would, instead of weighing calls and weighing sections, I would prefer you to do auto fails, right? So again, if a specific disclosure wasn't read, and that would be kind of in your third, that sales kind of area, those type of things, if they didn't verify appropriately, and they get a 0 for the call, or that section then gets a full 0, which then makes them, the highest they can get is a 50, which still is an auto fail, whatever that is. I would prefer to do that than to, just to kind of go through and weigh every single section. But auto fails, I think, are important. And the other thing that auto fails do is they pop up your QA and your supervisor right away too, that there was something that happened on this call that wasn't good, right? It's not just that they got a 78 on it, but it was a 30, right? And I think, again, more importantly than that, it just kind of raises the eyebrows really fast so that we can go correct issues a little bit quicker.